Very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Africa Today, our program bringing you all the latest news in the African continent. Of course, as usual, we start with a look at some of the news making the headlines and we move to the Rwandan cabinet that brought the capital city of Kigali back to a lockdown due to a surge in COVID-19 cases. The lockdown, which became effective immediately and will be reviewed in 15 days. According to a statement, the cabinet recognized a recent unprecedented rise in cases, deaths and transmission rates in the community, and hence they called on Rwandans to raise vigilance in observing the precautionary measures and health guidelines. We have more details in this report.
Rwanda has imposed a 15-day lockdown on its capital Kigali as the country battles a second wave of coronavirus cases that has resulted in unprecedented deaths and transmission rates. This is the capital's second lockdown since the outbreak of the pandemic. The government had in March enacted a country-wide lockdown that lasted 45 days. In a statement on Monday, the Rwandan government said all movements outside homes in the capital will require an approved permit from the police except for essential service providers. Travel between Kigali and other provinces and districts will not be permitted except for essential services and tourism. Tourists must have COVID-19 negative certificates. Public transport is also prohibited and all employees in public and private sector shall work from home except for those providing essential services. Places of worship and learning institutions will also be closed. Coronavirus cases are on the rise in the country. Officials said 61% of the new cases since the new year were recorded in Kigali.
And for more news, the death toll following an outbreak of violence in the city of El Geneina in the Darfur region in Sudan has reached 83 as sporadic violence continued. Women and children were amongst the dead, with around 160 injured in attacks. We have the details.
Militia fighters staged a deadly attack in Sudan's Darfur on Monday as doctors said the death toll from a separate attack that began 2 days earlier in the region had risen to more than 100. The surge in violence will add to concerns about the departure of an international peacekeeping force that stopped patrolling in Darfur on the 1st of January ahead of its full withdrawal and replacement by Sudanese force. The latest attack took place close to the town of Gerida, where two residents said a militia had attacked members of the Falata tribe. They said that the reason for the attack was unclear. On Saturday and Sunday, attacks took place in and around a village, West Darfur. Doctors' Union in West Darfur said on Monday that the toll had risen to 129 dead, 198 wounded, including children. Thousands have been displaced by the violence and were in dire need of humanitarian aid. Conflict in Darfur escalated from 2003 when government forces and mainly Arab militia were accused of widespread atrocities as they fought to suppress mostly rebels. An estimated 300,000 were killed, some 1.5 million remain displaced within Darfur. UNAMID, a joint United Nations African Union peacekeeping mission established in 2007, is due to be replaced by a national force that should include Darfur former rebels who signed a peace agreement last October.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi discussed means to activate the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which Wamkeli Mena, the Secretary General of the AFCFTA, during a meeting held in Cairo on Sunday. President el-Sisi asserted Egypt's full support for the agreement, which he said represents a promising start to achieve continental integration, as well as the desired economic and trade integration for the African states. We have more details in this story.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi affirmed Egypt's full support for all activities aimed at promoting continent-wide integration in Africa, especially in economics and trade. President el-Sisi's remarks came during his meeting with the Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, and Minister of Trade and Industry Naveen Gema. Presidential spokesperson Bassem Radi said the meeting discussed methods of implementing the AFCFTA agreement following its official launch earlier this month. The Egyptian president also asserted his country's readiness to provide the expertise needed to mobilize the free trade zone. He noted that stability is extremely important to provide a favorable environment to ensure the agreement's efforts and activities are successful. The African official expressed his honor to meet the president and confirmed his eagerness to visit Egypt as one of his first foreign visits after the agreement's launch. He also praised Egypt's concern and vigorous follow-up to the procedures of launching the agreement. He said that Egypt was one of the first countries to sign and ratify the agreement and highlighted the agreement's pivotal role in supporting development efforts across Africa. It provides this support by linking African markets, reviving the continent's industrial and agricultural sectors, and developing economic system. The agreement came into effect on the 1st of January 2021 and saw the 54 signatory countries open their markets under the agreement's terms. The new market created by the agreement is estimated to be as large as 1.3 billion people across Africa, with a combined gross domestic product of $3.4 trillion.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest, Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, the political analyst. A very good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you, my dear.
Thank you, Doctor, for joining us. Now, Egypt is a very big advocate, really, for the African Free Trade Agreement that has come into force officially just 2 weeks ago. How, in your opinion, Doctor, is this deal expected to really change the face of the African continent?
Of course it will. The trade between the different African countries is growing and should be growing even more and more over the coming years.
Yes.
And to have such an agreement, a free trade agreement, will allow the movement of goods between the different countries easily. Maybe it might be followed by tax exemption, what have you. So we need to integrate the continent of Africa. We need to join hands as far as economy, global economy, continental economy is concerned. And this is something we have to do to face the challenges of the industrialized world, etc., etc. And it will once again allow the African countries to exchange not only goods and merchandises, but expertise and know-how, so that the African economy will be stronger. And as I said, it can face all the challenges coming from the industrialized world.
Absolutely. Another issue, Doctor, Egypt can also gain from this deal in a continental way, maybe playing more of a strategic role in being a gateway really into Europe and Asia from Africa.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The position of Egypt, the location of Egypt, allows it to be the doorway to Asia and to Europe, and to the Middle East, of course. And not only that, but it will allow a lot of products manufactured in Egypt to find markets in Africa. Particularly that now, as we are hearing, that our president and our cabinet, they are very much with the implantation of different industries in Egypt, which will increase the production and increase the possibility of export. And as I said, Africa represents a very lucrative market
Yes.
as far as the Egyptian products are concerned. So this will help again to move
Absolutely.
our products into the continent easily.
Yes. Now, Doctor, the AU estimates, the African Union estimates the implementation of this African free trade will lead to about a 60% boost in intra-African trade by 2023. Do you think this number is achievable and realistic when the deal comes into full force?
I cannot predict, particularly with all the challenges related to the COVID-19 situation and what have you. But it is always useful to have an ambitious plan and an ambitious goal, and so that we can work harder on achieving it. But once again, I have to reconfirm that the rate will increase, the percentage will increase. Whether to reach 60 or not remains to be seen, but at least we are moving in the right direction, and we are looking for development in the coming months and years, of course.
Yes. We've also seen President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi stressing really the stability, and stability is of supreme importance, of course, in order to provide a befitting environment to make this deal work. What do you think could be the challenge facing a full African economic integration in this regard?
First of all, we have to say that to achieve the full-size African Union has another 40 years to go. So we have all the time. But let us praise the efforts of Egypt and its leadership toward establishing peace and security, not only in the neighboring countries,
Yes.
but in Africa in general. And so far we have been, thank God, successful, and we will continue because this is an obligation that Egypt has towards its African brothers and sisters in the different countries. And of course, there is no investment without a safe and secure environment. There is no trade, there is no movement between countries, except if the situation is stable and there is peace and security. And this is exactly what Egypt is working hardly to get
To achieve, yes.
to get it, of course, in place.
Right. Doctor, let me ask you, what markets do you think Egyptian products will easily venture into, and which of them do you think that Egyptian investors would be eager to explore?
First of all, I'll start with the second question. I mean, African countries are full of resources. They have natural resources, they have mineral resources that have either not being exploited at all or being very badly exploited.
Yes.
So this one where Egypt's know-how and technology come in, and we can help our African friends and African countries to exploit all the resources they have using modern technology that can be available in Egypt through joint ventures and through investments in such things in different countries.
Right.
On the other hand, of course, the neighboring countries represent or present a very good market for Egyptian products, and then it goes from there to further countries. But again, having the whole free trade agreement, developing the roads, this helps a lot in increasing the amount of goods that can be manufactured here and sold all over Africa.
Right. Doctor, now the Continental Deal also standardizes product specifications, which is very important that all countries will have a similar or one really product specification. Could you elaborate further on this, and why is this being done?
To sell a product, it has to be the quality has to be good and consistent. And this is exactly why we are placing specification for each and every product.
Yes.
Not only in country A or country B, but as much as possible we standardize this all over the continent. So we can not only compete within the African continent, but even if we explore other foreign markets in Asia or Middle East or elsewhere, it has to compete as far as quality is concerned and price. Price might be compatible, or competitive, but more important, the quality of the product and the specification has to match the similar ones coming from anywhere else. So this is extremely important if we want to have a good share of the international trade market.
Right. Doctor, now African countries are also looking to establish an economic bloc amounting to 3.4 trillion US dollars under this free trade deal. However, of course, producers are citing certain obstacles that they have to deal with, etc. What do you think some of these challenges could be, and how do you see different governments dealing with these challenges?
Well, as I said, challenges can be internal challenges like turmoils and instability in different countries, which are only few countries. But again, we have global issues like the COVID-19, which represents a major issue and a major challenge. Of course, the African countries are not all rich. So again, financing represents a third challenge that can be solved through financial institutions or investments from African countries in others or coming from abroad. So, I mean, all these challenges will be overcome, I'm sure, and will find a way to be solved so that the global trade in Africa would be lucrative very, very soon.
Right. One final question, if I may, Doctor. Now, as this free trade deal comes into effect, the signatories will have to drop 90% of their tariffs on imports. How do you see these countries somehow protecting their local industries as well?
Well, I look at it as if we're talking full integration, then a policy should be drawn in a way that there is no duplication. In other words, we will specify some countries to produce some goods and others to produce others. So I mean, in a way that there will be, to minimize, I should say, the competition between the different countries, and try and divide the production between them equally and fairly, so that they can, as a global force, represent a strong, again, power in the economic world.
Right. Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, our guest political analyst for this afternoon. Thank you very, very much, sir, for joining us on today's edition of Africa Today and for all your insight. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for today's episode. You're in the company of myself, Angie Meher. Many thanks for watching.